Well, during the President Obama's visit to India last month, it was really, truly a historic visit, because what it did was it sort of took our relationship and our partnership and made it very real and very credible, and really gave some content to it where people now can understand what it is we're working on together. And one of the things, and probably the biggest announcement, was his announcement in front of the Lok Sabha that the United States would look forward to a reformed UN Security Council which would include India as a permanent member. That was a really major public statement of the US's not only commitment but really enthusiastic embrace of India's rise as a global player. As the President said, India isn't rising, India has risen.
Right now, if you look at the mainstream press, that's what I'm looking at. I mean, the perception is very much, it is very aspirational. You can sense it. If you go to the metropolitan cities, if you look at people around, there is this big thing about, that, okay, we are moving somewhere in life. And I don't know who said it, like a few days back or a few months back, somebody told that the American dream now lives in India.
If you are looking at the economy, then India is the fourth largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity. We overtook Germany last year. If you are looking at population, then we are obviously second after China. If you're looking at projections, then there seems to be no doubt that in another 10 or 15 years, on whichever parameter, we will be amongst the world's leading nations. It's the first time in history that a democracy is growing at the rate at which India is growing, and over the last 5 years we've averaged at least 8.5% GDP growth rate. Most people think that a 9% or 9% plus growth rate for the next 20 years is attainable. And so on the plus side, what is being noticed is that in a democracy we've been able to move something like 200 million people out of abject poverty in the last decade. And that's a very significant number to happen.
India plays an important role globally, whether you talk about regional stability, whether you talk about grassroots development in Afghanistan, whether you talk about development aid to Africa, whether you talk about its role in the G20 and securing the global financial system, whether you talk about India's role, for example, during the recent talks in Cancun on the environment. Across the board, India is a major player, and we very much embrace the arrival of India and India's really constructive participation in global leadership.
Suri. I am a member of the Indian Foreign Service. I have worked in the Ministry of External Affairs. I've been a member of the Indian Foreign Service since 1983, so it's now 27 years into this job. And over the last 27 years, I've had 6 foreign assignments in Cairo, in Damascus, in Dar es Salaam, in Washington, in London, in Johannesburg. My last assignment was as Consul General in Johannesburg. I came back last November. And since then, I've been heading the Public Diplomacy Division of the Ministry of External Affairs.
We have the benefit and the blessing here in India of running almost every type of public diplomacy program available to the US government. We do a little bit of everything. We're one of the only embassies or missions left that has its own magazine. We do Span magazine in English, Urdu, and Hindi every 2 months that goes all over the country that talks about Indo-American partnerships.
The idea is to connect with audiences worldwide with the emergent reality of India, and the idea is to look into India, make audiences worldwide look into India, understand the problems that it has, appreciate them, at the same time identify the opportunities, challenges and threats that it has.
We do a huge exchange program, both in terms of sending American academics to India and others to India, and sending Indians to the United States. And those programs really cover the whole gamut of our partnership with India. Science and technology, HIV/AIDS, economics, trade, American studies, American literature, NGOs, journalism, the whole gamut of the relationship.
Ever since the founding of the Idea Works in 2006, we've managed to work with the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, the Confederation of Indian Industry, and the India Brand Equity Foundation, which looked after the business brand of India, as well as we got the chance of working with the Ministry of Tourism that manages the incredible India brand. And now recently we've been working with the Ministry of External Affairs, not directly, but the fact that they have agreed to support one of our recent public-private initiative to reach out to the world and promote it, and probably try understanding what India is all about, and to create an environment that talks about competing, collaborating, and co-creating a new future working together.
One initiative that we are partnering with a private entity is called India Future of Change, it excited us because I see a synergy between our efforts to reach out to younger generations and what India Future of Change campaign is trying to do in terms of consciously targeting university campuses and asking questions and creating contests about India.
So India Future of Change is essentially a 5-year plan which has the contests as the central themes. The first year and the years later on will have business and design as the constant features, but there will be 3 other disciplines which will change every 3 years, and these are the 3 disciplines that will be from the cultural and the creative industry.
The USEFI program, the US India Educational Foundation, USIEF, which runs our Fulbright programs and a number of our other professional and academic exchange programs like the Hubert Humphrey program and others. USEFI here is a binational program. It's run by our board of directors. I'm currently the president, and it is the programs are called a lot of the programs have been rebranded as Fulbright Nehru programs, and those programs are now fully binational, funded equally by the government of the United States and the government of India, with the priorities and the focus areas chosen by the fully binational board, which is 50% Indian and 50% American. That has increased our capacity enormously to really ramp up the number of exchanges, academic exchanges that are carried out. And so on the Fulbright Nehru programs, we bring literally over 100 Americans every year to India, everything from studying Hindi to working to help English teachers in high school classes to doing postdoc research on amazingly technical subjects.
Where we are asking people to, for example, asking students to paint their impression of India. And this is open to students all over the world, as long as they can express that idea and put it onto a piece of paper and send it to us as a poster entry. Now that exactly is one of the processes in which we are trying to harvest, understand and get an understanding of what young people perceive of India from different parts of the world.